Did you know that some of Canada's smallest towns have reported more unexplained disappearances and ghost sightings than major cities? Sounds unbelievable, right? But what if I told you there are places where locals refuse to go out after dark, not because of crime, but because of something they can't explain? Across Canada, hidden behind breathtaking landscapes, are towns where entire streets sit abandoned, where the silence feels almost unnatural. Visitors have reported hearing footsteps with no one there, seeing figures vanish into thin air, and feeling like they're being watched, even when completely alone. But here's the unsettling part. Many of these stories come from real people, not just legends. So what's really happening in these towns? In this video, we're uncovering 10 of the creepiest small towns in Canada, places so disturbing, even locals warn, don't visit, especially at night. Number 1. Atikokan, Ontario. At first glance, Atikokan, Ontario looks like the perfect quiet escape, surrounded by dense forests, peaceful lakes, and endless wilderness. It's even proudly called the canoeing capital of Canada. But beneath that calm and natural beauty, many visitors and locals describe something far more unsettling. A silence that feels too deep. Unlike normal quiet towns, Atikokan has a strange atmosphere where the absence of sound becomes noticeable. People often say that at night, the town feels almost frozen in time. No distant traffic, no voices, not even the usual sounds of wildlife. Just nothing. And that kind of silence can be deeply unnerving. Some residents have reported hearing faint footsteps outside their homes, only to find empty streets when they check. Others talk about moments where they feel like they're being watched from the tree lines, yet there's never anyone there. It's not loud or dramatic fear. It's a slow, creeping discomfort that builds the longer you stay. Part of this eerie feeling may come from the town's declining population. With fewer people around, certain areas feel abandoned, especially after sunset. Streets grow darker, houses sit empty, and the surrounding wilderness seems to close in. But here's what makes Atikokan truly unsettling. Locals don't always like to talk about it. When asked about the strange atmosphere, many simply brush it off or change the subject, and that silence might be the creepiest detail of all. So if you ever visit Atikokan, enjoy the beauty, but pay close attention to the quiet. Because sometimes silence can be louder than noise. Number 2. Barkerville. Hidden deep in British Columbia lies Barkerville, a town that feels like it's been completely frozen in time. Once a booming gold rush settlement in the 1800s, today it stands as a preserved historic site. But many believe the past here didn't just stay, it never left. Walking through Barkerville feels like stepping into another century. Wooden buildings creak with age, dusty roads stretch into the distance, and everything looks exactly as it did over 100 years ago. But visitors often say the most unsettling part isn't what they see, it's what they experience. Many people have reported spotting figures dressed in old-fashioned clothing, standing silently in doorways or walking down empty streets, only to disappear moments later. Others claim to hear footsteps echoing on wooden floors, even when the buildings are completely empty. Some even describe the faint sound of voices, as if conversations from the past are somehow still happening. What makes Barkerville especially eerie is how real it all feels. This isn't an abandoned ruin. It's maintained, visited, and carefully preserved. And yet, there's a constant sense that you're not alone. Like something is quietly observing from just out of sight. Locals and staff rarely dismiss these stories outright. In fact, some openly admit that strange occurrences are not uncommon, especially during quieter hours when fewer tourists are around. So if you ever find yourself in Barkerville, take a moment to look around and listen carefully, because in this town, history doesn't just live in museums. It might still be walking right beside you. Number 3. Bathurst, New Brunswick. Located along the rugged coastline of eastern Canada, Bathurst, New Brunswick may seem like a peaceful maritime town. With its ocean views, fishing heritage, and calm surroundings, it appears like the kind of place where life moves slowly and quietly. But beneath that calm surface, Bathurst carries a reputation that locals don't always like to talk about, especially when the fog rolls in. This town is known for its thick, heavy fog, that can appear suddenly, covering streets, homes, and even the shoreline in a dense gray veil. And it's during these moments that things start to feel different. Visitors often describe a strange drop in sound, where even the crashing waves seem distant, almost muted. The world becomes smaller, quieter, and far more unsettling. Over the years, there have been stories of people seeing shadowy figures moving along the coastline, barely visible through the mist. Some claim to hear distant calls for help, like voices echoing from the sea, only to vanish when followed. These chilling experiences are often linked to Bathurst's long history of shipwrecks and maritime tragedies. Locals believe that the waters surrounding the town hold memories of the past, events that may still linger in ways we don't fully understand. While many dismiss these as legends, others quietly admit they avoid certain areas when visibility drops. What makes Bathurst truly eerie isn't just the stories, it's the atmosphere. When the fog settles in, the town feels isolated, disconnected, as if you've stepped into a place where time slows down and reality becomes uncertain. So if you ever visit Bathurst, keep an eye on the horizon, because when the fog arrives, you might not be as alone as you think. Number 4. Churchill, Manitoba. On the edge of the frozen Arctic, Churchill, Manitoba is known around the world as the polar bear capital. But while most people come here hoping to catch a glimpse of these massive animals, there's something else about Churchill that leaves a lasting impression, and it's far more unsettling than wildlife. For much of the year, Churchill is isolated, surrounded by endless tundra and icy waters. But during winter, the town enters a period of near total darkness, where daylight becomes rare and nights stretch on for what feels like forever. And it's during these long, silent nights that many people begin to feel uneasy. Locals often describe a strange psychological weight that settles over the town. The silence here isn't just quiet, it's overwhelming. No traffic, no distant noise, just cold wind moving across empty land. Visitors have reported feeling disoriented, as if time itself is slowing down. Some even say they've heard unexplained sounds outside their homes, only to find nothing but darkness when they look. Of course, Churchill has strict safety rules due to polar bears. People even leave their cars unlocked in case someone needs to escape quickly. But beyond that practical fear, there's a deeper, more subtle tension in the air. Something harder to explain. Some believe it's the extreme isolation. Others think it's the environment itself, vast, empty, and unforgiving. Whatever the cause, Churchill has a way of making people feel small, watched, and alone all at once. And that's what makes it truly chilling. Because in a place where survival is already uncertain, sometimes the scariest thing isn't what you can see, it's what you feel in the silence. Number 5. Flin. With a name that already sounds unusual, Flin is one of those towns that immediately feels different. Located on the border of Manitoba and Saskatchewan, this mining town was actually named after a fictional character from an old science fiction novel. And somehow, that strange origin perfectly matches the town's eerie reputation today. Flin was built around mining, and beneath the surface lies a vast network of underground tunnels and abandoned shafts. While these tunnels once fueled the town's economy, many now sit empty, dark, and largely unexplored. And according to locals, that's where some of the strangest things begin. Residents have reported hearing low rumbling sounds beneath their feet, especially at night. Sounds that don't match any active mining activity. Others claim to hear metallic echoes, like distant tools striking rock. Even though no one is down there anymore, it's as if something is still moving. Deep below the town, above ground, the atmosphere can feel just as unsettling. The rocky landscape, industrial structures, and long winters give Flin a cold, isolated feeling. Visitors often describe a sense of unease that slowly builds, especially in quieter areas, where the wind seems to carry strange, unexplainable noises. But what makes Flin truly creepy is the mystery of what lies beneath. With so much of the town sitting on hollow ground, it creates a constant question. What's really down there? Because in Flin, the scariest part isn't what you see, it's what you can't. If this video gave you chills, let me ask you something. Which of these towns would you actually dare to visit? And which one would you avoid at all costs? Drop your answer in the comments. We put a lot of effort into uncovering these stories for you, so take 1 second to hit that subscribe button. It really helps us keep bringing you more mysterious content. Number 6. Fogo Island. Far off the coast of Newfoundland lies Fogo Island, a place so remote it feels like the edge of the world, with its jagged cliffs, crashing waves, and endless stretches of open ocean. The island is undeniably beautiful, but there's also something deeply unsettling about it. Life on Fogo Island moves slowly, and with such a small population, long periods of isolation are normal. But it's this isolation that many believe creates the island's eerie atmosphere. When the fog rolls in, and it often does, the entire landscape becomes blurred, as if the island is slowly disappearing into nothingness. Visitors frequently describe a strange sensation of being cut off from reality, like they've stepped into a place where time doesn't quite work the same way. The wind here is constant, howling across the cliffs and through empty spaces, sometimes sounding almost like distant voices. And that's where the stories begin. Some locals speak of hearing whispers carried by the wind, especially near the shoreline. Others claim to have seen figures standing near the cliffs during heavy fog, only for them to vanish when approached. These sightings are often linked to the island's long and difficult history, where generations faced harsh conditions, shipwrecks, and loss at sea. What makes Fogo Island truly eerie isn't just the stories, it's the feeling. The vast ocean, the isolation, and the ever-changing weather create an environment where your mind starts to play tricks on you. Or at least, that's what some people hope, because out here, surrounded by nothing but sea and sky, it's easy to feel like something else is out there with you. Number 7. Elliot Lake. Once known as the uranium capital of the world, Elliot Lake in Ontario has a history that feels as heavy as the rocks beneath it. During its peak, this town was alive with workers, families, and constant activity. But when the mine shut down, something changed, and many say the town never fully recovered from that sudden silence. Today, parts of Elliot Lake feel strangely frozen in time. Empty buildings, quiet streets, and aging infrastructure give the town an almost abandoned atmosphere in certain areas. But it's not just the visuals that make people uneasy. It's the feeling that something isn't quite right. Locals and visitors alike have reported experiencing odd moments of disorientation, especially when walking near old mining sites or unused structures. Some claim to hear faint noises like doors creaking or distant movement coming from buildings that are completely empty. Others describe a lingering sense of being watched, particularly in areas where nature has started to reclaim what was once industrial land. There's also a deeper layer to Elliot Lake's eerie reputation. Its connection to uranium mining has led to long-standing concerns about environmental effects, adding to the town's uneasy image. While there's no clear evidence linking this to the strange experiences people report, it certainly adds to the mystery. What makes Elliot Lake unsettling isn't loud or dramatic. It's subtle. It's the kind of place where everything seems normal at first, until you stay a little longer. Because in a town shaped by what lies beneath the surface, sometimes the past doesn't just disappear. It quietly lingers, waiting to be noticed. Number 8. Thompson, Manitoba. Deep in northern Canada, surrounded by vast wilderness and endless stretches of snow, lies Thompson, Manitoba. A town that feels as cold emotionally as it is physically. Known for its mining industry, Thompson is isolated, rugged, and for many visitors, quietly unsettling. Winters here are long, harsh, and unforgiving. Temperatures drop to extreme lows, and daylight becomes limited, creating an environment that can feel almost claustrophobic despite the open landscape. It's this strange combination, wide open space mixed with deep isolation, that begins to affect people in unexpected ways. Locals often speak about the mental toll of living here. The quiet isn't done peaceful. It's heavy. Visitors have described feeling unusually anxious, restless, or even paranoid after spending time in the town, especially during the darker months. It's as if the environment itself slowly starts to press in on you. There are also reports of strange experiences, People hearing sounds in the distance that don't seem to come from any clear source, or catching glimpses of movement in the snow, only to find nothing there when they look again. Some even say the town has an unexplainable energy, a feeling that something is just off. The industrial surroundings add to this eerie atmosphere. Large mining structures, quiet streets, and the constant presence of cold wind create a setting that feels almost lifeless at times. But what truly makes Thompson disturbing is how subtle it all is. Nothing jumps out at you immediately. Instead, it builds slowly, quietly, until you realize something doesn't feel right. Because in Thompson, the real fear isn't what's around you. It's what starts happening inside your own mind. Number 9. Dawson City. Tucked away in the remote Yukon, Dawson City is a place where history isn't just remembered. It's preserved in a way that feels almost unnatural. Once the center of the Klondike gold rush, this town was filled with fortune seekers, chaos, and rapid growth. But when the gold faded, so did much of its life, leaving behind something that feels frozen between past and present. Walking through Dawson City is like stepping into a living time capsule. Old wooden buildings still stand, streets look unchanged from over a century ago, and there's a lingering sense that the town never fully moved on. But what truly sets Dawson apart is its connection to something far more disturbing. Inside the town, there are preserved mummified remains naturally frozen over time due to the extreme cold. Unlike traditional burials, these bodies are still visible today. Silent reminders of lives that ended during harsh conditions. And for many visitors, just knowing they're there creates an immediate sense of unease. But the eeriness doesn't stop there. People often report feeling a strange presence, especially when walking alone at night. Some describe sudden chills, even when temperatures are stable, while others say they feel like they're being watched from. Empty buildings or dark corners is not something easily explained, but it's something many seem to experience. What makes Dawson City truly unsettling is how alive the past feels. It's not just history you learn about, it's history you feel around you. Because in a place where time seems to stand still, you can't help but wonder, what else never left? Number 10. Uranium City. If there's one place in Canada that truly feels like it's been forgotten by time, it's Uranium City, located in the far north of Saskatchewan. This town was once a booming mining hub, filled with workers, families, and life. But almost overnight, everything changed. And what remains today is something straight out of a nightmare. When the uranium mine shut down in the 1980s, the population collapsed. Thousands of people left, abandoning homes, schools, and entire neighborhoods. What was once a thriving town quickly turned into a near ghost town, with empty buildings slowly decaying under harsh weather conditions. Today, walking through Uranium City feels like stepping into a world that has been completely left behind. Broken windows, collapsing structures, and silent streets create an atmosphere that's both eerie and overwhelming. Nature has started to reclaim the area, but instead of bringing peace, it only adds to the feeling of isolation. There are also lingering concerns about radiation exposure, which adds another layer of unease. While not all areas are considered dangerous, the town's history alone is enough to make visitors think twice. But what truly makes Uranium City disturbing is the silence. Not the peaceful kind, but the kind that feels heavy, almost unnatural. No voices, no movement. Just the wind passing through what used to be a living community. Some visitors have described feeling a deep sense of discomfort, as if they shouldn't be there at all. Because in Uranium City is not just abandoned, it feels like it was left for a reason. From quiet forests to frozen landscapes, these towns remind us that not every peaceful place is truly safe. Canada is often seen as calm, beautiful, and welcoming, but as we've explored today, there are hidden corners where things feel different. Places where silence becomes uncomfortable, where history feels too close, and where the line between reality and mystery starts to blur. Each of these towns has its own story. Some are shaped by abandonment, others by harsh environments, and a few by events that people still struggle to explain. But they all share one thing in common, a feeling that something just isn't quite right. And sometimes, that feeling alone is enough to leave a lasting impression. What makes these places truly unsettling isn't just the ghost stories or strange sightings. It's how real they feel. These aren't fictional locations or exaggerated myths. They're real towns, with real people, and real experiences that continue to raise questions. And maybe that's what makes it even more chilling, because it means these places actually exist, and anyone could visit them. So the next time you think about taking a trip off the beaten path, ask yourself, are you ready to experience the unknown? Because sometimes the scariest places aren't the ones you hear about in movies. They're the ones quietly waiting in the real world. And who knows, maybe some mysteries are better left undiscovered.